Dr. Kim Woojin's hand shook as he typed the emergency message. The research station around him was falling apart. Red laser beams cut through the metal walls like they were made of paper. He had been working here for 3 years, studying the gases around a giant planet. It was supposed to be a quiet job. Nobody ever came to this part of space. But now everything was wrong. Strange ships had appeared out of nowhere. They were shooting at the station without any warning. Kim could hear his fellow researchers screaming down the hallways. Some were running. Others were trapped under fallen debris. "This is Kepler Station." He spoke into his microphone, trying to keep his voice calm. "We need help right now. Unknown ships are attacking us. People are dying. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need rescue." The message shot out into space faster than light itself. It carried all the information about where they were and what was happening. Kim hoped someone would hear it. He hoped someone would care. Enough to help far away on Earth, Lieutenant Park Min-ho was having a normal night shift at the Seoul monitoring station. He was drinking coffee and watching the quiet screens when suddenly alarms started going off. A message was coming in from deep space. This had never happened before. Park read the message 3 times before he believed it. Someone out there was asking Earth for help. This meant other people lived among the stars. It also meant they were in trouble. He grabbed his phone and called his superior immediately. "Sir, you need to see this. We just received a distress call from space. It's real." Within 20 minutes, the message reached Admiral Lee Hae-on-woo. The old man had gray hair and tired eyes, but his mind was still sharp. He had been preparing for this day his entire career. Earth's military leaders had always known they might meet other people from space someday. They had built ships and weapons, just in case. But Lee had imagined first contact would be peaceful. Maybe aliens would visit Earth to talk. Maybe they would trade goods or share knowledge. He never thought the first message would be someone begging for help. As Lee read the details, he felt anger building in his chest. The attackers were clearly pirates or raiders. They had found a peaceful research station and decided to destroy it. The people there were scientists, not soldiers. They had no way to defend themselves. Lee looked at the tactical information. The research station was small and weak. The attacking ships were bigger and had powerful weapons. If nobody helped, everyone on that station would die within hours. He made his decision quickly. Earth would not ignore this call for help. But they would not send just one ship or a small rescue team. They would send everything they had. The Admiral picked up his secure phone and called the President. "Ma'am, we just received our first message. From space, it's a distress call. I'm recommending we deploy the entire fleet." This was the moment that would change everything. Earth was about to show the galaxy what happened when you attacked innocent people. The universe was about to learn that humans did not abandon those who needed help. The emergency message from Kepler Station traveled through space like ripples on a pond. Within just a few hours, 17 different alien governments had received the desperate call for help. But instead of rushing to save lives, they all made the same cold decision. On the beautiful crystal world of Avalon Prime, Chancellor X9 sat in his gleaming tower office. Skin was blue and translucent, and his 4 eyes glowed as he read the distress signal. The message made him nervous, but not because people were dying. He was worried because of where the message came from. This transmission originated near the death zone, he told his council members. That's the forbidden area around the terrible world called Terra. The other council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Everyone in the galaxy knew about Terra. It was a nightmare planet where everything was trying to kill you. Gravity was crushing. The weather was violent. Poisonous creatures lived everywhere. Most importantly, it was home to the most dangerous species anyone had ever heard of, humans. Those researchers made their choice, Dex9 declared with finality. They knew the risks when they went near that cursed world. We cannot help them. Mark them as dead and move on. Similar conversations were happening all across the galaxy. On Kepler 44b, the insect-like hive queens gathered in their underground chambers. Their voices sounded like clicking and buzzing as they discussed the message, but their decision was the same. Foolish creatures, the lead queen buzzed to her sisters. They went too close to the death world. Now they face the consequences. We will not risk our ships or our people. Even the peaceful depths dwellers of Proxima, who lived in the deep oceans of their water world, refused to help. These gentle beings were known for their kindness and wisdom. But even they would not venture near human space. The truth was that every space-traveling species in the galaxy followed the same unwritten rule. Stay away from death worlds. Never contact their inhabitants. And if you're stupid enough to ignore these warnings, don't expect anyone to save you. What made this situation even sadder was that Dr. Kim Woo-jin wasn't even human. He was Altarian, with pale green skin and large dark eyes. His people lived on a peaceful world far from Earth, but his own government had. It's already given up on him. The Altarian High Command met in emergency session when they learned about the attack, but their response was heartless. Kim knew the dangers. When he took that assignment, the defense minister stated, he chose to work near the Forbidden Zone. We cannot risk our fleet to save one foolish scientist. Meanwhile, the pirates who were attacking the station were celebrating. The Vex Consortium was the most feared criminal organization in the galaxy. Their leader, a brutal creature named Scarjaw, had specifically chosen this target because he knew it was perfect. No one will come to help them, Scarjaw growled to his crew. They're too close to the death world. Every government is too scared to send ships here. We can take our time and strip this station of everything valuable. Pirates had done this before. You would find isolated research stations or mining operations near dangerous areas. Then they would attack, knowing that no help would come. It was the perfect crime, but this time they had made a terrible mistake. They had forgotten that the savage primitives on Terra could actually hear the distress call. And unlike every other species in the galaxy, humans had a very different response to cries for help. Deep beneath Mount Jiri in South Korea, a hidden elevator descended 300 meters underground. Most people had no idea this place existed. For 40 years, it had been home to humanity's most important secret. A military command center that had been preparing for the day when Earth would meet other intelligent life. President Yoon Dae-yoon walked quickly through the steel corridors, her heels clicking on the metal floors. Behind her, the most powerful military leaders on Earth hurried to keep up. They had been awakened in the middle of the night for this emergency meeting. Everyone knew this moment would change human history forever. The main conference room was massive, with screens covering every wall. Admiral Lee Hyun-woo was already there, studying tactical displays and star charts. His weathered face showed the strain of a man who had carried a heavy burden for decades. Report, President Yoon ordered as she took her seat at the head of the long table. The situation is simple, but serious, Admiral Lee began. 17 civilian researchers are under attack at Kepler Station. They sent out a distress call asking for help from anyone who could hear it. We intercepted that message. He pressed a button, and the main screen showed a map of nearby star systems. A red dot marked the location of the research station. Attackers appeared to be pirates, the Admiral continued. They have superior firepower, and the research station has no defenses. If no one helps, everyone there will be dead within hours. Defense Minister Park Jin-woo stood up and activated another display. Here's what makes this interesting. We've been monitoring galactic communications for years. We know that 17 different alien governments received the same distress call. Every single one of them has refused to help. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. This was humanity's first real test on the galactic stage. They think we're primitives, Admiral Lee said with a bitter smile. The galaxy has classified Earth as a death world, a planet so dangerous that only savage creatures could survive here. They believe we're too stupid and violent to matter. President Yoon stared at the tactical displays. For decades, Earth had been secretly building a space fleet that advanced technology, powerful weapons, and highly trained crews. But they had kept it all hidden, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. What are our options? She asked. Defense Minister Park activated another screen showing Earth's hidden fleet. We have 147 vessels ready. For immediate deployment, the entire Terra Defense fleet has been on standby status for this exact situation. Captain Kim So-young, the youngest person in the room, cleared her throat nervously. Madam President, standard diplomatic protocol suggests we should start small. Maybe send one ship to make contact first. We could try to negotiate with the attackers. The room went quiet. Everyone looked at President Yoon, waiting for her decision. Her voice was calm, but carried absolute authority. Those people sent a distress call. They're being attacked by pirates. We don't negotiate with criminals, and we don't send half measures when innocent lives are at stake. Admiral Lee nodded with approval. The entire fleet, then. The entire fleet, President Yoon confirmed. I want the galaxy to understand something very important about humans. When we receive a distress call, we don't send a few aid ships. We don't send diplomats. We send a fleet, and we send it with enough firepower to solve the problem permanently. The orders went out immediately. Across the solar system, hidden bases began powering up their ships. This would be humanity's introduction to the galaxy, not as primitives or savages, but as protectors. All across the solar system, hidden bases that had been secret for 40 years suddenly came alive. It started with a single coded message sent. From Earth's command center, Operation Guardian Angel is go. All units deploy immediately. Massive doors opened in what looked like ordinary craters. The flagship Sol, rising slowly, emerged from its hidden hangar, its hull gleaming with advanced armor plating. Captain Ominsik stood on the bridge watching as his ship's powerful engines began to warm up. All systems green, his chief engineer reported quantum drives are ready for full power. But the Sol Rising wasn't alone. Across the solar system, similar scenes were playing out. From hollow asteroids that had been secretly converted into military bases, warships emerged like sleeping giants waking up. Near Jupiter, an entire fleet of carriers launched from what appeared to be a mining station. Even in the cold darkness of the Oort cloud, the very edge of the solar system, combat vessels powered up their engines. Communications officer Lee Yoon-ji monitored the reports flooding in. 13th Fleet reports ready from Mars orbit. Fleet emerging from asteroid belt. All vessels are checking in, sir. Captain O watched his tactical display with amazement. They had been hiding in plain sight for decades, disguised as research stations, mining operations, and space debris. Total count? He asked. 147 ships ready for jump, Leon-ji announced. Every vessel in the Terra Defense Fleet is operational. What would have shocked any alien observer was the type of ships humanity had built. Other species in the galaxy focused on exploration, trade, and diplomacy. Their vessels were designed for peace. But humans had taken a different approach entirely. The human fleet was built for war. Heavy cruisers bristled with kinetic weapons that could punch through any armor. Massive carriers launched squadrons of fighters, each one faster and more maneuverable than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Even the support vessels carried enough firepower to destroy entire cities. Navigation officer Park Sung-min worked frantically at his console. Jump coordinates locked in. Target system is 17 hours away at maximum speed. We are humanity's first representatives to the galaxy. Those people at Kepler Station are counting on us. We'll not let them down. As the human fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, they had no idea they were being watched. Galaxy Alien Intelligence Services had been monitoring Earth for decades. They had always assumed the Death World was home to primitive savages. But now, its energy signatures from 147 warships lit up their sensors. Alien intelligence officers stared at their screens in complete shock. On the crystal world of Avalon Prime, Chancellor Vex-9 was awakened by urgent reports. Sir, massive energy readings from the Terra system. It appears to be a fleet launch. Impossible, Dex-9 muttered, looking at the data. The primitives don't have space travel. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. The insect-like hive queens received reports of the energy signatures and refused to believe them. The aquatic depths dwellers ran the data through their computers. 3 times before accepting it was real, as the human fleet jumped to hyperspace. One thing became clear to every alien intelligence service they had been catastrophically wrong about. Earth, the Death World, hadn't just produced survivors. It had produced a military force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Deathworlders hadn't just survived their hostile planet. They had used that harsh environment to forge themselves into the ultimate protectors. And now they were coming to save people who had been abandoned by everyone else. The galaxy was about to learn what humans did when innocents were in danger. The human fleet appeared at the edge of the Kepler system, like thunder breaking the silence. One moment space was empty except for the pirate ships slowly tearing apart the research station. The next moment, 147 human warships materialized from hyperspace in perfect formation. On the bridge of the pirate flagship, alarms started screaming. Scarjaw, the brutal leader of the Vex Consortium, stared at his sensor displays in confusion. His crew had been monitoring space for hours, and there had been no sign of any rescue. Fleet. Boss, his sensor operator stammered, I'm reading massive energy signatures. These aren't rescue ships. These are warships. Big ones. Scarjaw's scarred face twisted into a snarl. He had been raiding in this sector for years, and nobody had ever challenged him, especially not near the Death World. Everyone was too scared to come here. Identify yourselves or be destroyed. The threat was empty, and deep down, Scarjaw knew it. His 17 ships were powerful enough to destroy research stations and merchant vessels. But they were nothing compared to the fleet that had just arrived. Admiral Li Huanwu stood calmly on the bridge of Sol Rising. Watching the tactical display, his officers reported the positions of every enemy ship. The pirates had spread out around the research station, thinking they were safe. Now they were trapped. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving threats from the pirate vessels. They're ordering us to leave. Admiral Li almost smiled. Fleet in the galaxy, pirates were trying to intimidate them. Open channels to all frequencies, he ordered quietly. Make sure every ship in the system can hear this. Also make sure our transmission reaches every monitoring station within 50 light years. The communications officer nodded. All channels open, sir. The galaxy's listening. Admiral Li's voice was calm and professional as he spoke. This is Admiral Li Huanwu of the Terran Defense Fleet. We are responding to a distress call from Kepler Station. You have attacked civilians and threatened innocent lives. You have 60 seconds to withdraw your forces and depart this system immediately. The silence that followed was deafening. Across the galaxy, alien intelligence services were frantically trying to understand what they were hearing. The primitives from the Death World had just identified themselves as the Terran Defense Fleet. They had warships. They had an admiral. They had been listening to galactic communications all along. On the research station, Dr. Kim Woo-jin pressed his face against the observation window. He could see the human fleet in the distance, their running lights gleaming like stars. Help had actually come. After being abandoned by his own government, after being written off as dead, humans had come to save him. Lieutenant Commander Song Haijin monitored the pirate fleet's movements. Sir, they're not withdrawing. All 17 ships are moving into attack formation. They're powering up their weapons. Admiral Li nodded grimly. He had hoped the pirates would be smart enough to run. But criminals were rarely smart. Very well, he said quietly. All ships. This is Admiral Li. These pirates have chosen their fate. Weapons free. Engage all hostile targets. No survivors. The order went out across the human fleet. Every captain had been waiting for this moment. Every crew member knew what was at stake. This wasn't just about saving the research station anymore. This was about showing the galaxy what happened when you threatened innocent people in front of humans. The pirates had made their choice. Now, they would face the consequences. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Captain Kim So-young sat in the command chair of her heavy cruiser Busan Strike. Watching the tactical display with calm focus, she had trained for this moment her entire career, running simulations and war games against theoretical alien threats. Target locked, her weapons officer reported. Lead pirate vessel, range 12,000 kilometers. Fire, Captain Kim ordered. Simply, the Busan Strike's main gun fired a solid metal projectile, no bigger than a baseball. But this wasn't an ordinary weapon. The kinetic round accelerated to 30% the speed of light, carrying more destructive force than the largest nuclear bombs from Earth's history. The pirate flagship didn't explode dramatically like in the movies. It simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, a massive ship bristling with weapons. The next moment there was nothing but expanding gas and debris. The pirates' advanced energy shields, which could deflect laser beams and plasma bolts, were completely useless against a chunk of metal moving at relativistic speeds. Target eliminated, the weapons officer reported calmly. Moving to next target. Across the human fleet, similar scenes played out with mechanical precision. The pirates had expected a chaotic battle with lots of maneuvering and dramatic exchanges of fire. Instead, they faced something far more terrifying, a perfectly coordinated military machine that had been designed specifically to destroy enemy fleets. Tactical Officer Park Jae-won watched his display as green dots representing human ships systematically eliminated red dots representing pirates. Multiple targets down, enemy formation collapsing. They're trying to scatter, but the pirates had no chance to escape. Commander Lee Min-young's destroyer squadron had already moved to surround the entire battle area. Every possible escape route was blocked by human warships. On the research station, Dr. Kim Woo-jin pressed his face against the observation window, watching the battle unfold. His scientific mind tried to process what he was seeing. The humans weren't just winning. They were demonstrating technology that shouldn't exist. This is impossible, he whispered to himself. They're supposed to be primitives living on a death world. The evidence was right in front of him. It's the human ships. Moved with perfect coordination, like a school of fish or a flock of birds. Every vessel knew exactly where to be and when to fire. Their weapons were devastatingly effective. Punching through the pirates' defenses like they were made of paper, the battle lasted exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds. That wasn't because the pirates put up a good fight. It was because it took that long for the human fleet to systematically eliminate every hostile vessel. One pirate ship tried to surrender, broadcasting desperate pleas for mercy, but Admiral Lee's orders had been clear: no survivors. The pirates had chosen to attack civilians, and humans didn't negotiate with people who threatened innocent lives. The last pirate vessel attempted to flee, its captain finally understanding the hopelessness of the situation. But Commander Lee Min-young's destroyers were waiting. The fleeing ship disappeared in a brief flash of light, reduced to its component atoms by human weapons. Across the galaxy, alien intelligence officers watched the battle through their long-range sensors. They had expected the primitives to be slaughtered by the experienced pirate fleet. Instead, they witnessed the most one-sided military victory in galactic history on his crystal world. Chancellor Vex-9 stared at the tactical reports with growing horror. They didn't just survive their death world, he said quietly. They used it to become the ultimate predators. The battle was over. The pirates were gone. And the galaxy had just learned that humans were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The silence after the battle was almost as shocking as the battle itself. Where 17 pirate ships had been terrorizing the research station just minutes before, now there was only empty space and debris. The human fleet had moved with such devastating efficiency that it seemed almost unreal. Admiral Lee immediately began coordinating the rescue operation. All ships, establish defensive perimeter. Medical teams deploy immediately. Engineering crews begin damage assessment of the station. The hospital ship Daegu Mercy moved closest to the damaged research station. It was a massive vessel, painted white with red crosses. But even this medical ship carried enough weapons to destroy a small fleet. The humans had learned long ago that sometimes you needed to fight to save lives. Dr. Kim Woo-jin was barely conscious when the first human rescue team found him. He had been trapped under debris for hours, with a broken leg and severe burns. When the metal was lifted off him, he looked up to see a human face for the first time. Colonel Park Hyen-soo knelt beside the injured researcher, his medic already working to stabilize the wounds. Dr. Kim had studied human biology in university, but seeing one in person was completely different. They were shorter than most galactic species, with strange skin that changed color and small eyes that seemed to see everything. But what struck him most was the intensity in their gaze. These weren't the eyes of prey animals hiding on a death world. These were the eyes of predators, intelligent, calculating, and absolutely determined. "You came," Dr. Kim whispered weakly. "My own government abandoned me. Every species in the galaxy ignored our call for help. But you came." Colonel Park helped lift the injured researcher onto a stretcher. "You sent a distress call," he said. "Simply, that's all we needed to know." As the rescue operation continued, Dr. Kim watched in amazement as more human ships arrived. But these weren't just additional rescue vessels. Construction ships began building defensive platforms around the station. Supply vessels established forward operating bases. Engineering teams started repairing not just the station, but upgrading it with human technology. "Excuse me," Dr. Kim said to Admiral Lee during a briefing several hours later. "How long will your fleet remain here? When will you return to Earth?" Admiral Lee looked at the Altarian researcher with genuine surprise, as if the question made no sense. "We're not leaving, Dr. Kim. This system is under human protection now. No one will ever attack it again." The implications of those words sent shockwaves through every intelligence network in the galaxy. The humans hadn't just responded to a distress call. They had effectively annexed an entire star system and were digging in for permanent occupation. Within hours, permanent defensive stations were being constructed at key points throughout the system. The humans weren't just visiting, they were moving in. Advanced sensor arrays would detect any approaching threats. Weapons platforms could destroy entire fleets. Supply depots would allow the human fleet to operate indefinitely. Dr. Kim watched the construction work with growing amazement. "Your people," he said to Admiral Lee. "They're not what the galaxy expected." "No," Admiral Lee replied with a slight smile. "Out." The galaxy classified Earth as a death world and assumed we were primitive savages. They were wrong about both things. "But why?" Dr. Kim asked. "Why commit so many resources to protect one small research station?" Admiral Lee's expression grew. "Serious, because that's what we do. Someone calls for help, we answer. When innocent people are threatened, we protect them. And when we make a promise, we keep it." The galaxy was learning that humans didn't just respond to emergencies. They prevented them from happening again. The news traveled faster than light itself, racing through quantum communication networks that connected every civilized world in the galaxy. Within hours, emergency meetings were being called on dozens of planets as alien governments tried to understand what had just happened. On the crystal world of Avalon Prime, Chancellor Vex9 sat in his gleaming office, staring at reports that seemed impossible. His four eyes glowed brighter as he read the tactical analysis for the third time, hoping the numbers would somehow change. "This cannot be accurate," he said to his military advisors. "The energy signatures alone suggest industrial capacity that exceeds our own. How did we miss this?" His chief intelligence officer, a tall being with translucent skin, shifted nervously. "Sir, we've been monitoring the Terra system for decades. We saw no signs of advanced civilization. Their technology was primitive. Their space travel was limited to their own star system." "Then explain this," Vex9 snapped, pointing at the holographic display showing the human fleet, 147 warships appearing from nowhere. "Weapons that can destroy our best ships in seconds. This is not primitive technology." Meanwhile, on Kepler 442b, the insect-like hive queens gathered in their underground chambers for emergency sessions. Their voices created a symphony of clicking and buzzing as they analyzed every detail of the human fleet's capabilities. "The Deathworlders have been hiding," the lead queen buzzed to her sisters. "They let us believe they were savages while they built the most powerful fleet in the galaxy." "But why?" another queen clicked. "Why reveal themselves now?" "Because someone called for help," the lead queen replied. They responded to a distress call that we all ignored. On the water world of Proxima, the gentle depths dwellers who had refused to acknowledge the original distress call were now frantically running calculations. Their peaceful species had never built weapons of war, relying instead on diplomacy and their remote location for protection. "Can our defenses withstand such an assault?" asked the elder of the deep currents. The military advisor's response was sobering. "No, elder. Our shields would be useless against their kinetic weapons. Our entire fleet would be destroyed in minutes." Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. Species that had dismissed humanity as primitive savages were now scrambling to understand how they had so badly misjudged an entire civilization. At the newly established Kepler Defense Command, General Choi Sung-hoon prepared humanity's first official statement to the galaxy. The message was simple but powerful. Let it be known that Terra extends protection to all peaceful species within this sector. We will not tolerate attacks on civilian populations. Any hostile action against innocent people will be met with immediate and overwhelming response. The statement was broadcast on every major galactic network, translated into 423 different languages. The message was clear. The galaxy's understanding of Deathworlders had been catastrophically wrong. Dr. Kim Woo-jin, now serving as Earth's first alien liaison, watched the galactic response with growing amazement. His own people, the Altarians, were desperately trying to open diplomatic channels with Earth. The same government that had abandoned him was now begging for meetings. Your people, he told Admiral Lee during a status meeting, they're not what the galaxy expected. No, Admiral Lee agreed with a slight smile. We're not. They thought we were primitive because we lived on a dangerous world. They didn't understand that our dangerous world made us strong. The revelation was spreading across the galaxy like wildfire. The Deathworlders hadn't been hiding in caves and struggling to survive. They had been building, planning, and preparing. They had used their harsh environment to forge themselves into the ultimate protectors. And now the galaxy knew, when humans made a promise, they kept it. When innocents were threatened, they responded with overwhelming force. The age of ignoring distress calls was over. 6 months had passed since the Kepler incident, and the galaxy was no longer the same place. What had started as a simple rescue mission had fundamentally changed the balance of power throughout known space. The humans hadn't just saved one research station, they had transformed the entire galactic order. Ambassador Song Mi-young sat in her office aboard the newly constructed Kepler diplomatic station, reviewing the morning reports. Covered with requests for protection from species across the galaxy, 47 different civilizations had formally asked Earth to extend its protection to their systems. The terms were simple and non-negotiable. No aggression against civilian populations, no slavery, and no piracy. Any species that accepted human protection had to agree to these basic rules. Most were eager to comply. It's remarkable, Dr. Kim observed during one of their regular meetings. He had become Earth's first alien liaison, helping other species understand human culture and motivations. Your species doesn't just survive hostile environments, you thrive in them, then use that strength to protect others. Ambassador Song nodded as she reviewed the latest reports. The Terran Defense Fleet had established permanent bases in 17 star systems, creating a network of protection that covered a significant portion of the galaxy. Each base was a fortress, capable of detecting threats across multiple star systems and responding within hours. The most dramatic change was the complete disappearance of piracy in human-protected space. The Vex Consortium, once the most feared criminal organization in the galaxy, had simply ceased to exist. Word had spread quickly that humans didn't negotiate with pirates. They eliminated them completely. Criminal activity has dropped too near zero in our protected sectors, Ambassador Song reported to Earth during her daily briefing. The mere presence of our fleet seems to deter most hostile activity. This wasn't surprising. Every criminal organization in the galaxy had heard about the Kepler incident. They knew that attacking civilians in human space meant facing the full might of the Terran Defense Fleet. Most pirates had simply moved to other parts of the galaxy, far from human patrol routes. But the changes went deeper than just military protection. Human medical teams were sharing advanced healing techniques with alien species. Human engineers were helping repair infrastructure damaged by years of pirate attacks. Human teachers were establishing schools on worlds where education had been disrupted by constant warfare. Dr. Kim watched these developments with fascination. Your people are natural protectors, he told Ambassador Song. The galaxy always assumed that Deathworlders would be violent and aggressive. No one expected you to be guardians. The transformation was so complete that the Galactic Council had formally recognized Earth as a major power. President Yoon Dae-yoon, once unknown to the galaxy, was now considered one of the most important leaders in known space. In her final address to the Galactic Council, President Yoon spoke simply and directly. We never sought conquest or domination. We sought only to answer a call for help. But we have learned that in this galaxy, help is a rare commodity. We will continue to provide it permanently and without compromise. The galaxy had learned its lesson. When Deathworlders received a distress call, they didn't send aid ships. They sent a fleet, and they stayed to ensure it never happened again. The new paradigm was elegantly simple. Earth protected those who couldn't protect themselves. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy knew true peace. Pirates feared to operate. Slavers found no safe harbor. Civilian populations could focus on science, art, and exploration instead of constantly looking over their shoulders for threats. The humans had kept their promise. They had answered one distress call, and in doing so had made the galaxy a safer place for everyone.